Cool. So what I've done is I have started the Unreal Engine, and I said launch a project in 4.2.1. We'll be using 4.2.1 for this class. It's always easy to upgrade an engine version. You can never go backwards. Like, you'll lose your level. So we're going to start older just to make sure we're safe, and then we'll move up if all the plugins move up to 4.2.2. All right. So when I launched it, it goes into this screen, and I'm going to put in a new project. We're going to do Blueprints. Blueprints is the scripting, node-based scripting language for Unreal, so you don't have to use text at all. If you haven't, there's lots and lots of node-based programming languages, and we'll stick with this one. We're not going to get into C++. If you want to do C++, I'll show you some other resources, but it's just a little bit more dense to go that way. So we're doing a Blueprint project, and I will do it blank. I'm not going to worry about any of these templates. Play around with these templates. They're all really cool. Like, you have a flying template, a third-person template. These are all like fully featured, and you can actually make real games using them. In fact, you know what? I will use a template. I'll use third person. It'll be fun. And then if we want to add starter content, it adds things like how do you make it has like doors and windows and lamps and chairs, and just be wary that it does add 600 megabytes to your project immediately. So these projects can get super big. So we're gonna I'll start off with it. Actually, I'm not going to use it at first. No starter content. We'll start at very minimal, and then I'm going to choose a storage drive, and I'll call this Interactive Applications 2019. We'll do the project, and we'll create it. Sometimes it can be a little slow creating the stuff. It's lots of files being moved around. It's taking care of a lot of things for you. And then what I'm also going to do is over on my Windows folder, the same thing for Mac. I might have to show you guys how to use the Mac stuff. I'm going to make a folder for Unreal projects right here, and then I'm going to make a folder for our class. Let's say it's 3D for Interactive Applications 2019. I have to make sure that I'm actually typing it. For Interactive Applications 2019. All right. All right, so my project has been made, and for those of you who haven't seen the Unreal Engine, this is the Unreal Engine. If I go over here, I hit play, and I have this little template of a third-person dude. And he jumps. Game done. $1 million made. All right. So I'm going to close it out now. And I made this folder for this class. And what I want to do is I'm going to, while it's an empty folder, interactive 3D for interactive. All right, so while it's an empty folder, I'm going to make it my Subversion repository. Okay, so I've created a repo here. If you want me to ever store a project for you this semester, I have unlimited storage for doing projects. So literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes of stuff is up on my website. I have no problem doing it. I use DreamHost because of free Subversion storage. So I have a URL here, which I've put in the syllabus for you guys for this week's. There is the repo, and there's your username and password. We're going for the repo, and go back to my folder. I'm going to say right-click, and Tortoise SVN and Snail SVN are both what's called a shell script. They actually go into your contextual menus. So I right-click here, and I actually have two little Tortoise menus here. I have some more stuff here, but I'm just going to check out this URL. It's basically going to link the URL to my local hard drive. I took the URL from my clipboard right there. I hit OK, ask for username and password. I have my own. This way I can just, like, if you guys are messing around with my repo and destroy it, I can just ignore everything that the student login does, and only the stuff I do will stay. All right, so I have my own super secret. All right. So you guys will put your username and password. It says I'm at revision 0. It's just linked now. Okay? And I have this little hidden folder called SVN. So if I go to where my actual project went to, The little trick is to right click on it and say show me the folder. There you go. So here's my Unreal project. The Unreal project is basically, if we open it up in Unreal, everything that you're going to see, all your assets are going to be in this content folder. Okay. This is your project file. This is your content folder. Everything else is like little stuff that you don't have to worry about. It's what the engine uses for like backups and screenshots, this other kind of stuff. All we care about really is the main one. I'm going to move this project into here. I'm just showing it to you. This is not important because I'm going to have the repo already made for you. And then I'm going to add these two folders to the repo. Let's see. Add this folder to the repo. All right, so that's added. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. And then I'm going to not sync these items. That way it's reducing the file size. So we're not sharing these. Cool. And then at the end of every class, what I'll do is I'll come up to this root folder and I'm going to commit it. I'm going to push it to the cloud. So now you guys can pull it and you'll have all the assets I made. So everything's fine, great. And I'm going to write a little message to us. This is the initial commit of first day of class. And I can put more and more details when we do more and more stuff, right? So now this is all being pushed to my repo online, and you guys can then pull it. You don't have to do this. It's just this is another option, so you have things to play around with. Cool. Done. So let's go back and just go over the interface for those of you who haven't had a chance to open it up, and then we'll be done for the day. And where are you guys not going to be next Thursday? Where you're not going to be here, or you could be here, just I won't be here.
Next Thursday or
This Thursday, the next Thursday, which is 2 days. Next Thursday, not next week's Thursday. We'll have to come up with some other thing to do on that Thursday. All right. So to kind of prove a point, the content right here has these folders for third person and my geometry and all that kind of stuff. And just to prove a point, those same folders are here, mirrored back to back. Okay? So everything that's a folder here correlates to the folders on my hard drive, just so you know. And then here is a full interface of the Unreal Engine. On the left side, you have things that are built into the engine, like really basic geometry, lights, things like that. If I have a sphere, I can load a sphere in, and there it is. So when you have like you install these engines, sometimes they're like gigabytes upon gigabytes. That's because it has all these assets that you can then grab. So that's cool. So these are things built into the engine. Down here is the folders of our content, the content browser. And I like to open up both sides so I can navigate this way. Then this is, of course, the viewport. Hitting play right there, and then hitting stop. If you might see that if you click in here, it says Shift F1 for your mouse cursor in the top left. Just remember, if it like your mouse gets locked into there, Shift F1, I can grab it back and now navigate around. Then everything in your viewport is WASD. Who plays first-person shooters on a computer? WASD. It's so addictive that you can do this inside the game engine when you're editing that whenever I get to other software, I'm so frustrated that I can't do it. I'm like, why doesn't everything let me WASD? So I'm actually going forward and backwards with the WS and lateral with A and D keys, and then Q and E go up and down. You can also use your arrow keys if you want to, all right? But one thing I recommend is you have to do game engines with a mouse. So you can get a $4 one on Amazon. It's completely fine. This is like a $20 one. They make really spiffy ones. You have to get a mouse. Otherwise, you're going to get lost. Especially kind of like on a Mac because the trackpad is weird and funky with trying to do this stuff. Cool. So over here on the right side is we have our world outliner. This is a list of all the assets that are in our scene. And if I click on them, I see that I have a floor outlined. I have a wall, right? So, and if I get lost, I'm not sure where the things are. If I double click on them, it'll take me to put all of my viewports, so it's easy to frame it, right? So I can find things. So there's stairs, lights, and all that kind of stuff. Cool. Then down here, the last kind of major panel to look at is the details, and this is all the properties for all of our assets. Game engines, I call game engines like nature's lazy software. Game engines can do everything, but by default, everything's turned off. It's not going to simulate physics. It's not going to generate collisions. It's not going to do all the interactivity. We have to tell it thing by thing, item by item to do these things. But all these assets are geometry that have textures, that can have gravity applied, that can have collisions, and then we'll just get kind of used to that. Everything in this world outliner is called an actor. That's just Unreal's terminology. If anyone is really familiar with Unity and you want to have like that reference to like the Unity engine that makes you more comfortable, there is a wonderful thing called the Unity for Unreal, or I think it's Unreal for Unity. And it goes through and says, if you're used to this, it is now called this. So that for the layout of the editor, and then for how you make everything, this is your translation guide. And I'll put this in Slack. Cool. One quick note about Slack: never put an actual asset attachment onto Slack. We were doing a free version. We only have 2 gigabytes for Slack, and if you start uploading, projects and videos, it'll start getting really bogged down, and then it'll start deleting previous posts. So everything should be a link. That's why you need to have a website, something you post your videos to. Don't give me a video. Give me a link to a video or a link to a website that has a video. Don't pass back and forth assets. Always pass links to assets and stuff like that. So we're not actually putting. I'll have to go through and just start deleting your stuff just so we can use our Slack again. So if you haven't used Slack, it's one of the things to know. I'm going to put my full name. Yes. Now we're done. Cool. I gave you that link. Going back. All right. So as I was saying, everything has a static mesh and then a texture on that static mesh, right? If I double click on some of these windows, I'll see that, oh, look, there's all the details about a box. Not so interesting. And then because we have an environment here, we do have lights and all this kind of stuff. There's this asset called the SkySphere, and it's a blueprint. Okay, so blueprints is a node-based coding language for Unreal that we're going to use for class for interactivity. And blueprints, you can see, have hyperlinks. They're like little opens up the blueprint editor. We don't have to worry about it right now, but just let you know that that's how you identify a blueprint actor in a scene. The SkySphere has a lot of properties already that we can use with it. So I can actually, it's tied to this light source right here. So this is actually my sun position. I should have a sun directly above me. Cool. What if I want the sun to rotate? You see the lighting changes. Sky is still the same. I click the sky. The first detail button is refresh material. Now it's nighttime. Cool. So you actually have different times of day just by rotating this light in place. Now it's going to be sunset. Pretty cool, right? So now we're seeing interactivity already, and it's going to be driven in real time. And there's a lot here. All these detail things right here. These are all public variables. These are all things that we can program and then expose to be able to utilize while we're navigating around the interface of the engine. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Mess around with this a little bit. Cloud speed, right? I can make it like there. Now we're in our own personal hurricane. All right, too soon. The opacity of the clouds. There we go. And my favorite, star brightness. All right. So mess around with this kind of stuff, and this is already just given to you. You know, like the problem with this is that it gives you so much. You're like, I didn't earn it. I don't know how it's all doing whatever it's doing. Don't worry about that. Just go ahead and utilize the fact that this is here and pretty fun. Cool. So now already I have my Hurricane third-person shooter kind of thing. There's a little red error message there. It says lighting needs to be built. We're going to get into lighting. Don't worry about it. Just ignore that. One thing that it does say really, really, really faintly underneath, it says I can type in disable all screen messages so it goes away if it really does bother you. The tilde key brings up my little console, and I could say disable all screen messages, and then it went away. Okay? If that bothers you. The other thing that's kind of cool as we kind of mess around with stuff, placing things in the world, is we can also take screenshots. This is a really handy tool. If I do that tilde again, and I say hi, even the auto completes it for me, high res shot, hit tab, then I can put a multiplier. So my screen's HD, it's 1920 by 1080, and this screen is probably half of that size, right? The viewport. But I can use a multiplier, and the game engine will make a higher resolution screenshot for me. So if I can multiply this by 8 and hit enter, it'll hiccup for a second, and then it gives me a link to the screenshot. But this is in my saved folder. Screenshots, and there it is. So you saw it was really like aliased in my viewport, but look at the resolution of this thing. This is awesome for making like posters. So just keep that in mind if you want to take screenshots. High-res screenshots. There we go. Do that documentation as well. Cool. So what I want you guys to do is, install the engine, and then just play around with some of these templates. Just get kind of used to navigating, about using a mouse. It's called tumbling around your environment. Just get comfortable with it because we're going to hit the ground running next week. Everything can be moved, rotated, or scaled. Right? So I can rotate it, I can move it. All those things you're used to doing with the transforms. There you go. Stretch it out. Yeah, just get comfortable manipulating all this stuff. And then you can snap to certain degrees, right? I only want to rotate in 10 degrees. And then the button right here at the very end shows camera speed. This is how quickly I can move around in my environment. I made it to 8, so now I'm flying through. Or if I want to really get detailed and want to move slowly, I got onto 1 and just barely moves. Right, I'm just barely inching forward. Cool. So this is a good start. I don't want to go too far. Just get comfortable with this. If you have some assets you want to bring in, that's fine. As I said before, if you want to log into the Unreal Engine and start throwing in fun assets into your own projects, that's fine. Again, this project that I'm syncing is just for me to give to you. You don't do anything to this one. You're working in your own projects for this class. All right. I'm going to try to keep this one small so it doesn't take up that much file size, and I'll maintain it throughout the entire class so you guys can see good file maintenance and stuff. All your projects you're working on are on your own desktop. Let me know if you want to sync it to my Subversion, and we just make a new URL for you. Okay? And then, if you want to log into my account, feel free to have fun and, add in a whole bunch of deer or whatnot. But stay within the realm of things from the Unreal Engine and your own content for now. Don't just go onto the internet because not everything is made for real-time rendering, and we don't want to deal with that yet. We'll get in there slowly about other assets and stuff. Cool? Does anyone have any questions about this? We just jumped into the software, but we're not doing anything too hard right now. I just want you guys to get comfortable with the layout. And if you guys want to add some screenshots to whatever you're messing around with, just to prove that you guys did it, then on Tuesday of next week, we'll just review everyone's process and getting through, and then communicate with me one-on-one about access to computers or what Elton is going to do with buying some desktops. I think he's going to do RTX 2080 cards, these big ray tracing beasts. So we'll have some really nice computer lab. Does anyone have any questions? No? Straightforward? All right. So I'm going to go ahead. So what I'll do now is I take this